what do you see as far as mistakes that companies make with their marketing, right? Like what mistakes are they making on the execution side that maybe you guys can step in and help them with or handle? Or even when you're working with them, what are some of those typical practical things that they just fail at?
Yeah, I would say that number one thing, and it's something that we constantly have to try to find workarounds, is especially when we are doing lead generation, especially B2B lead generation for our clients. We have an issue where the clients will say, "Oh, we need 100 numbers," let's say, and we'll give them those 100 numbers, and then their sales team will come back and say, "Oh, those are not good," but they
Mm-hmm.
haven't called a single one of them to actually
Ah,
figure out if they're
yeah,
good or not.
yeah,
And that unfortunately happens more often than not. And
I would
it
believe it.
usually happens with really big companies. Small companies, like it's the CEO, it's his life.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll go on the phone and call those people right
That's
away.
right. That's right.
But big companies, sales teams, especially because sales teams feel like marketing teams are kind of against them.
Mm-hmm.
And the marketing team will blame the sales team will blame the marketing team. And
Yeah,
because of that, whenever the marketing team generates leads to them, they usually don't want to use it. They want to use their own so they can say, hey, the marketing leads don't work, what I was do.
mm-hmm.
But if you can create a culture in your company where sales and marketing are the same thing, and they are just there to support each other, you have something like the sales rep will call those people, will
Mm-hmm.
go back to the marketing team and say, hey, I called them. These are the objections I'm getting. And then the marketing team will be like, okay, on our next lead gen campaign, we're going to
Mm-hmm.
address those objections. And then the sales team will be like, great, this time I didn't have those objections. So it was easier to,
Yeah,
connect with those people, but I'm having these issues. And that will
right.
be, that'll create the circle where the marketing team will be constantly optimizing based on the sales team feedback. The
Sure.
sales team will be constantly optimizing their results because they are feeding in the marketing campaigns. And that's the number one issue we always face, is literally having sales team don't wanting to work with marketing teams.
That's so funny.
And at the end of the day, it's unfortunately, yeah, it's insane. Anytime that we have those things, we are like, can we have a call with your sales team and
Yeah.
just like try to talk to them and make them understand that, like you said, lead the conversation that we are partners, not
Mm-hmm.
enemies, and be like, hey guys, if you can help us, the whole point is that we'll be able to help you get better results.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, I'll be doing my job, I'll get you the leads,
Mm-hmm.
but you'll be sacrificing the company's results. And at the end of the day, we'll both be out of jobs because the
Yeah.
company will
Yeah. Right.
fail.
So what you're
So,
saying, what it
yeah.
sounds like you're
So,
saying is that it just comes down to simple communication, right? And like
exactly.
I was actually reading an article about a software company the other day, and they were talking about how their teams work together and internal marketing and sales teams, and they have all of they're a smaller company, right? Well, probably a mid-sized company, right? And they have maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 salespeople and a marketing team of like 6 to 8, and they all work in the same room physically. And if they're not able to be there physically, they will be remotely accessible by whatever, Teams or Zoom or whatever they use. Um, but the point is to say, okay, we're basically all in the same team. We're not separate. Okay, and we're all going to meet
Yeah.
together. We're all going to go have lunch together. We're all going to like basically be pretty much on the same team. So we're forced to
Yeah.
communicate because we're communicating about everything. And I think obviously the physical virtual thing is something everyone's working through or working around depending on your company, but I think the serendipity of that, where I mean, to get very minute, you have a salesperson who's on the phone, let's say, or in a Zoom call with a prospect, and they are saying what they're saying, and they're getting feedback from that person, and the marketer's overhearing that conversation. I mean, it's you can't really do that every day because it's not productive to be doing on every sales call, but essentially they're on the sales call with them and they're picking up things, and they're while they're working on building campaigns. So I mean, to me, I think that's the best picture of an internal team working together and communicating, is where you're sharing that entire responsibility together. And the other thing they said too is that they all their goals are driven towards revenue. So it's not like marketing is driving to sales and sales driving to revenue. They're all driving towards the same goal. So I think it's super interesting when you frame it like that, and you stop having this sort of divisive nature between the roles. Um, I think it works better. You know, I mean, we're in a weird spot right now where I think companies are redefining roles in both sales and marketing, but a lot in sales. And I think that we're going to end up finding some kind of discipline or some kind of skill that is a hybrid more than not, right? Like I think about it almost like you go to a Chick-fil-A, or you go to I don't know, maybe just a restaurant's probably a good example, and they're all cross trained, right? You can go in and you stand at the counter there, and if someone's doing drive through is the only person there, they can come over and take your order, or if someone's refilling drinks, they can take your order because they've been
Exactly.
trained on how to take the order. I kind of look at it similarly. It's not the same, but for sales and marketing, marketers need to sort of be trained on sales to some degree because they can take inbound leads right away, right, and do something with them while they're in the process doing what they're doing. And sales need to be trained with a marketing in mind. You know, oh, ding, like this is something I need to send right over to create a piece of content about, because we could generate this content in 24 hours, put it out on LinkedIn, then I can share it with the prospect and say, you know, we were talking about this yesterday and we wrote this article and thought you might want to read it. I mean, that kind of feedback loop is amazing, and I think from the client or the audience side, seeing that is impressive. So,
Yeah.
you know, I think communication is so important. Agreed.
And I'll go even further. I think that, product development, customer success, marketing, and sales should be all in the same room, because the more those channels communicate, the better the
Mm-hmm.
results will be. Imagine that loop. Imagine a customer success rep getting a feedback from a client,
Mm-hmm.
sharing with sales, hey, people who bought us are complaining about this, so this is something they worry about.
That's
And
right.
sharing with the product development team and being like, hey, I got this feedback. People are not happy
Mm-hmm.
about this. So
Mm-hmm.
let's release on our next update note. Let's put a note there saying, hey, we're going to take care of this. We see that you guys suffer with this.
That's
And
right.
then marketing is looking at all of that and being
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what? Let's create some content, teaching people about how they can use the app so they don't have those
Mm-hmm.
problems anymore.
That's
Let's
right.
create some marketing materials that we can use to say people that we listen to them and that we keep evolving based on their feedback. Like if those four people could be in the same room and just
Mm-hmm.
share the information, imagine the power that a company could have. Like
Yeah.
you literally can act on things right away. And imagine as a customer, I would feel like the company listens to me and they're
That's right.
so quick at coming back to me and being like, hey, I actually listened to what you said. I would be
Yes.
in love with that company.
Oh,
I'll
yes.
become exactly. I'll become obsessed with that company. I would share on my LinkedIn and be like, guys, I had a conversation with these guys last week and
Yeah.
they already, took action on it.
That's right.
So imagine
It's
the power of just communicating.